So most of our clients at one point or another, if they get to the stage where they're bringing on new employees, will want to put a stock option plan in place. A typical stock option plan is from 10 to 20% of the equity of the company. So if you have 1 million shares outstanding, you'll probably have a 100,000 to 200,000 share employee stock option plan in place. One thing that people tend to get confused somewhat about is that there isn't a finite pool of shares here. People tend to think that they need to create exactly 10 million shares, and 8 million would go to founders and 2 million would go to the ESOP or something of that nature. It's not exactly how it works in practice. How it works in practice is you issue a certain number of shares on day one, and then on day two you issue more shares or stock options, and those dilute the existing shareholders. It's not a finite kind of proposition. You may think of it as one pie, but it's actually a pie that continues to grow over time. Stock option plans, the gold standard for stock option plan is that the shares would have a 4-year vesting period with a 1-year cliff. So in other words, typically the employee comes on, they're granted options, and those options vest over time, but the first 25% of the options typically don't vest until that person has been employed by the company for a full year. If the person doesn't stay with the company for a full year, they lose all the options. If they stay for a full year, 25% vest, and they can exercise those options anytime before they leave the company. The balance of the options typically vest over a 3-year period on a quarterly basis, sometimes monthly, more typically quarterly. The options typically have a period of anywhere from 5 to 10 years where they can be exercised as long as the person remains with the company. Although if they leave the company, they probably need to exercise the options within 60 to 90 days of leaving the company, or they will be canceled. On a sale of the company, options are either exercised by the individuals, deemed to be exercised by the board of directors to be sold into the transaction, or canceled for their cash value. The tax considerations of these different options are basically the same for the employees, and sometimes the options are exchanged for options of the acquirer, but that's less often than not. Most of the time they're cashed out.